speaking about glories of Nityananda Prabhu. That's what we are talking today. In fact, the role of Nityananda Prabhu in our Gaudiya Vaishnava line. Okay, so we all know who is Nityananda Prabhu, that I don't have to really introduce you to. And if you don't know who is Nityananda Prabhu, then what you are doing here? That's one thing. Well, you know why I'm making this statement? Because ironically, people or devotees do not know who is Nityananda Prabhu. And I'll tell you why I'm making this statement. We understand who is Nityananda Prabhu, but not in a depth in which he should be approached and he should be respected and he should be known. That's what I'm going to today share with you all. The glories of Nityananda Prabhu. So, what is his contribution to Gaudiya Vaishnavism first? And second is, what is his teaching to all of us? That's the second thing. We are going to discuss this parallelly in my talk. I'm going to discuss all these things. Okay, so first is, this is a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela. If you want, you can just keep notes, because I'm going to give a lot of references here. And so maybe later then you can compile these references and then you can read these verses which glorify actually Nityananda Prabhu and his various aspects of life. Basically from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, 5th chapter, 156th verse. Adi 5.156. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he says here, Sri Chaitanya Sai Krishna Nityanand Ram, Nityanand Purn Kare Chaitanya Rakam. So beautiful verse. And one of the names of Nityanand Prabhu, which Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami he brings up here is Nityanand Ram. That's his name. He's not called just Nityanand because there are so many Nityanand in our Gaudiya Vaishnava line. So disciple of Vishwanath Thakur, there was one disciple, is on Nityanand. Srinivasacharya, he had a disciple Nityanand. Janava Devi, she has a disciple Nityanand. So which Nityanand we are talking? Nityanand Ram. Where Ram means who is Balram, who is incarnation of Balram. Nityanand Ram. So what he's doing, Krishnadas Kaviraj Swami says his speciality, his contribution to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. This is where he begins. Nityanand Purn Kare Chaitanya Rakam. The Nityanand Prabhu, his only function, or one of the most important function, was to fulfill the desires, to fulfill the mission of Lord Chaitanya. That's what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says here. Purn Kare Chaitanya Rakam. Kam means work. The work which Mahaprabhu initiated, the work that is this preaching mission which Mahaprabhu started, Sankirtan movement, Nityananda Prabhu brought it to completion. That's what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says. Now, how did he do that? And why he was a person who brought Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement to completion? Why he was chosen for that? Now we can see, so by the way, this theme of completing the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is very important because if you go to Madhva Sampradaya, so if you ask them, who is Madhvacharya? So there can be many answers for that. He is Anandi Tirtha, he is Poon Pragya, there are many names and this is this. But one noteworthy point which Madhva Sampradaya will tell you, who is Madhvacharya? Hari Kare Sadhaka. He is a person, Hari Kare Sadhaka. He is a person who fulfills the work of Hari. And the same theme comes in Vallabh Sampradaya. If you ask who is Vallabhacharya? Now one word they will say, he say Swami Abhipraya. So Vallabhacharya says, Who is Vallabhacharya? He says, my function is to understand. Swami means master, 𝗪𝗡 means intention. To understand the intention of my master Lord Krishna and fulfill it. You see this theme is not unique to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. But what is unique is Nityananda Prabhu actually took this theme and actually worked on it and exercised it and fulfilled the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, so how did he do that? You see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he inaugurated Sankirtan movement in Navdeep. He started, we all know. But after that he took sannyas and then he went to Puri. We all know that. He went to Jagannath Puri. But the problem was, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was restricted in his preaching. He was quite restricted as a sannyasi. He told to Nityananda Prabhu in Jagannath Puri, you see, I can't preach to rich people. I am a sannyasi. In fact, I can't even meet them. Now you might say, what was the problem? Now we meet so many rich people as brahmacharis. Prabhupada met so many rich people. But at that time, you see, if you go historically, that time situation was very different. 500 years ago, if a sannyasi meets a rich man, he'll be completely blasphemed, and I mean to say, it will be just a sacrilege. It will be he will be outcasted from the society. Sannyasi meeting rich man, a sense gratifier. And so we know from Chaitanya Charitamrita, all the devotees in Jagannath Puri, they were requesting Mahaprabhu, please meet King Prataprudra. And Mahaprabhu says, I will not meet. I'll die, but I'll not meet. And devotees are pressing. Swarup Damodar was pressing, Swaram Bhattacharya was pressing, please meet, he's your devotee. But Mahaprabhu said, if you say once more to me, I will leave Jagannath Puri. He said, how can I meet? It's a social norm, and if I meet, people will criticize me and then my whole mission fails. Why don't you understand this simple point? And that's why he told to Nityananda Prabhu, Nitai, what I cannot do, you can do. That's the point. That is the glories of a contribution to Mahaprabhu. That's what this verse is saying. Nityanand Purn Kare Chaitanya Rakam. He actually did what Mahaprabhu could not do because of social limitations and restrictions. He said to Nityananda Prabhu, Mahaprabhu said, you go to Bengal and do one thing. First of all, I cannot go to Bengal because I am a sannyasi. If I stay in Bengal as a sannyasi, then people will say, I have some connections with my wife. You see, people have rumors, people can say anything. And in fact, by the way, there is a Sahajya Sampradaya in Odisha, I think by Balram Das, inaugurated by Balram Das. And he has written a book, Chaitanya Bhagavat. He has also written Chaitanya Bhagavat, by the way. So if you go to Orissa and if you want to buy Chaitanya Bhagavat, they will ask you, which Chaitanya Bhagavat? Most likely they will give you Chaitanya Bhagavat of Balram Das. But then you have to say, no, I want Chaitanya Bhagavat of Vrindavan Das Thakur. So in that book, he has written. He has actually clearly written that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had connections with his wife. Interesting. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Navdeep, when he was going to Vrindavan, he stayed in Navdeep. At that time, his wife came and met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. She even touched him, his lotus feet. And he went to the extent that Mahaprabhu even blessed her. But our acharyas are dead against this. Our acharya says it's impossible because sannyasis don't meet their wives at that time. They're left, then they're left. In fact, so here's a side note. Mahaprabhu's wife was Vishnu Priya. We all know that, isn't it? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in fact, our acharyas are very adamant on this point that Mahaprabhu never met Vishnu Priya. Why? Because Vishnu Priya her service was to show devotion in mood of separation. She is the acharya of a Gaudiya Sampradaya to establish how to devote yourself in mood of separation from Lord Gauranga. That was her contribution. Bhaktivedanta wrote many articles on Vishnu Priya, and in fact Bhaktivedanta's one of the life's mission was to argue against this point that Vishnu Priya met Mahaprabhu. You see the point? So what the point I am saying, there were limitations for Mahaprabhu in sannyas ashram. He couldn't meet rich people. He couldn't go to Bengal. So he told Nitai, you can do what I cannot do. You can fulfill my mission. You go to Bengal and what do? You preach to rich people first. You can preach. Now, why Nityananda Prabhu can preach? Because Nityananda Prabhu is a madman. It is said, Krishna Consciousness Swami is saying later, he's 𝗙𝗲𝗪𝗀𝗪. He's a madman. So he can do anything. I mean to say, there are no social restriction. He's avadhut. He's avadhut. That Nityananda avadhut sabate āgal. Krishna Consciousness Swami says. He is beyond ashramas. He is beyond sannyas. He is beyond 𝗙𝗲𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀, 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗀𝗀, 𝗙𝗪. He is even beyond Paramahams. No restrictions. He can do anything. So Mahaprabhu said, well, there are no restrictions. You go and preach to rich people. Nobody will criticize you because anyway they think you are mad. And second is, Mahaprabhu said, you preach to dacoits. And we know from Prem Vilas, there is a book, Prem Vilas, where there are full details of how Mahaprabhu delivered dacoits. Dacoits wanted to kill him, but he delivered them. So this theme of delivering dacoits was not just one incident. I mean to say, village after village, dacoits were joining him. That's interesting. No dacoit joined Mahaprabhu, by the way. They were joining Nityananda Prabhu partly because of the fact because Nityananda Prabhu became quite rich. He went to Bengal and he started a business. Interesting, huh? He's mad. So he did that. Basically, he didn't start a business in ordinary terms. But at the same time, he did a deal and he actually bought a big palace. And he was just putting a lot of jewels. All 10 fingers, he had diamond rings on all his 10 fingers. And he had golden necklace and gorgeous dress. So dacoits were attracted. This is a rich man and let's join him. Rich people were attracted by seeing this. I mean to say, so we can't imagine Mahaprabhu wearing on all 10 fingers diamond rings, isn't it? Even in dreams we can't imagine. It will be absurd. And then Mahaprabhu said, not only this, you go and preach to psychopaths. There were psychopaths in Bengal. I mean to say, the greatest example of psychopaths are Jagai Madai. Who else is a psychopath, isn't it? We might think they are the bad people, but they were psychopaths. They were just raping, killing Brahmins and doing... anybody comes on street and they will kill him. In modern language, you will call him psychopath, isn't it? So Mahaprabhu said, yeah, Jagai Madai will be delivered, so you can deliver psychopaths, so you do that. So, and that's why, and Prabhupada writes a big purport to this verse. Yeah, I think Prabhupada writes to this verse, Adi Lila 5, chapter 156 verse. And Prabhupada says, Nityananda Prabhu did that, what even Mahaprabhu couldn't do. How? Only by Mahaprabhu's mercy. And then Prabhupada in that purport, not ironically, but Prabhupada in that purport is hinting that even he himself could do more than Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu delivered Bengal, Prabhupada delivered entire world. Nityananda Prabhu delivered few psychopaths, Prabhupada delivered so many psychopaths. Hippies were psychopaths, isn't it? What else they were? Entire Western world is psychopath. At least from Indian perspective. You might not feel, people who are staying in Western world, they may not feel we are psychopaths. But for us Indians and especially ISKCON devotees, ISKCON devotees, even materialistic people are psychopaths. And on the top of it, Western civilization. They have no idea what they're doing. So Prabhupada delivered them. So Prabhupada is hinting that even he could do more than Nityananda Prabhu by the mercy of Mahaprabhu. The whole idea is, Nityananda Prabhu is giving a teaching here by his action. He is teaching us that it's a very important teaching. He's teaching us that actually love for God, what does that mean? That's the first teaching he's giving us. What do we mean by love of God? if you analyze the entire life of Nityananda Prabhu and all these things I told in brief, we can see love of Krishna doesn't mean love for only, doesn't only mean love for the names of Lord, love for the form of the Lord, love for the qualities of and pastimes of Lord. That's not the only meaning of love of God. That's a very restricted meaning. Love of God means love for the divine will of the Lord. That is love. If you chant Krishna's pastimes and chant His names and chant His qualities, that's very nice. But in the end, what Krishna will ask you, well, you like me? Will you do what I am? Will you do what I want? That's the question He's going to ask, isn't it? If you like somebody, then ultimately in the end, that person will say, okay, you like me so much. Will you do what I want? Will you fulfill my wishes? That's love. A girlfriend wants to see that a boyfriend fulfills her wishes and not just keep on expressing her appreciation for her beauty. Not just that. So that is very important teaching, love for the divine will of Lord. Very important teaching which Nityananda Prabhu is teaching by, which actually this quote I gave you, by doing this kind of function, by Hari Karya Sadhaka, by fulfilling the mission of Mahaprabhu, what he is teaching us is that we must love the desires of God. That's very important. Devotees love chanting the names, and that's very nice. Because only by chanting the names we will get the enthusiasm to fulfill the desires. But if we keep on chanting the names and if we keep on chanting the pastimes and we don't fulfill the desires of the Lord, it is not love, it is lust. That's the crucial distinction which Nityananda Prabhu is showing, and which this entire pastime of Mahaprabhu telling Nityananda Prabhu, you can do what I cannot do, please do that. So, or in the language of Bhakti Siddhanta, this is said, an absolute surrender to the absolute will of Lord. This famous quotation. An absolute surrender to the absolute will of Lord. In fact, if you see like that, even in Bhagavad Gita, you see her. So even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is, Hare Krishna. So somebody is unmuted. You have to mute. Somebody is unmuted there. So even Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he asks Arjuna to fight. And what is the argument of Arjuna? Arjuna is saying, Krishna, I don't want to fight. I'll go to the forest and do meditation on your pastimes and names. And you see, that was his proposal. Krishna says, you fool, you rascal. Krishna said that. Krishna said, you fight. Then Arjuna was thinking, if I fight, then I'll forget. I mean to say, while fighting, he's not going to chant Krishna, Krishna, and he's not going to say Yashomati Nandan, isn't it? While fighting, he's completely focused on the enemy. He has to chant his mantras for shooting arrows, and he has to be on his gear, he has to be on speed. So then Krishna says, no problem. Even if you forget chanting my names, if you forget chanting my pastimes, no problem. What Arjuna is doing on the battlefield, externally it seems he is doing some non-devotional activity. There's no beats, there's no pastimes, there's nothing. He's just shooting arrows and killing. Krishna says, these people are foolish who think you are not doing devotion. You are in love with my desire. I want you to fight, and you are fighting. Your fighting expresses the love for my will, love for my desire. And that expression of fighting is not just fighting. It is an expression of love. And only jnana chakshusha, only people with eyes of scriptures, only people with eyes of love for divine will, they can see what you are doing. You see the point there? And that's what Nityananda Prabhu is doing. So that's the first contribution of Nityananda Prabhu to Gaudiya, his pastimes and his teachings. Okay, next, this is Adi Leela, 5th chapter, 208th verse. 5.208, Adi Leela. And this is a very nice verse. And what it says, Preme mat Nityanand kripa avatar, uttam adham kichu na kare vichar. Very beautiful verse. Preme mat Nityanand kripa avatar. Nityananda Prabhu is kripa avatar. He is the incarnation of mercy of Lord Chaitanya. He is mad in divine love. Uttam adham kichu na kare vichar. He doesn't, when he distributes his mercy, he doesn't think who is adham, who is uttam, who is madhyam, who is low, who is high. He doesn't think. He simply distributes his mercy. And this we can see from Jagai Madhai's incidents. He didn't see who is Jagai Madhai. They are such psychopaths, they are rascals, leave them, no. He gave them mercy. In fact, the same thing comes for Mahaprabhu. Now you might argue, well, this is not unique to Nityananda Prabhu, this is also for Mahaprabhu. Krishna Consciousness Swami says for Mahaprabhu, ayogyata na karha vichar. Krishna Consciousness Swami says even Mahaprabhu was distributing love. He was not considering who was low, who was high. He was simply distributing love. Then how is Nityananda Prabhu unique, different from Mahaprabhu? Yes, he is different. Why? Because Nityananda Prabhu was doing one more thing. His mercy was coming in a different form. And the form his mercy was, his only function, his only mercy was to bring everybody to the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu and reveal the glories of Mahaprabhu to this world. Mahaprabhu was giving the mercy of Krishna, but Nityananda Prabhu was giving mercy of Mahaprabhu. That's a difference. And you can see, it is Nityananda Prabhu who revealed who is Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, we would have not known who is Mahaprabhu. We would not have not known. It is Nityananda Prabhu who revealed to this world who is Mahaprabhu. How? Now you read Chaitanya Charitamrita. There was one pastime of actually Vyas Puja. So this Guru Purnima came. And so Mahaprabhu told Nityananda Prabhu that you please celebrate Guru Purnima. Guru Purnima is that day when you actually worship Vedavyas, the birthday of Vedavyas. So he said, okay, let's celebrate Vedavyas, Guru Purnima. So he said, okay, Nityananda Prabhu, Nitai, you go to Srivas Thakur's house, make all arrangements, I'll come and then we'll celebrate. So they put photograph of Vedavyas and everything was done. Advaitacharya said, you take a garland and garland Vedavyas. Nityananda Prabhu took the garland and he was standing, doing nothing. Advaitacharya said, what happened? Hey, what happened, Nitai? You are standing, what? So you just put garland. Time is going on and function, we have to do so many things. Nityananda Prabhu didn't say anything. He was simply standing, motionless. Everybody was saying, what happened to him? He's gone mad or what? Then they called him Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu, there's a chaos, you come. And then Mahaprabhu came and then he said, Nitai, you put garland on Vedavyas, what's happening? Nityananda Prabhu turned and he put garland on Mahaprabhu. That's what happened. Why did he do that? He wanted to show that real Guru is Mahaprabhu. He is Krishna. Vedavyas, he's just a 𝗙𝗶𝗹𝗶 avatar of Krishna, Mahaprabhu. He's just a part amsha of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is God. On this day we have to celebrate and we have to worship somebody, it should be Mahaprabhu. He revealed to this world Mahaprabhu is original Guru. He is God. It is Nityananda Prabhu who did that in the starting. Next, also Chaitanya Charitamrita comes, Nityananda Prabhu, when Mahaprabhu took sannyas and he was going to Puri, Nityananda Prabhu broke his danda. We know that. Danda Bhang Leela. In 3 parts. He took a sannyas danda and broke in 3 parts and threw it. So what was Nityananda Prabhu doing? He was showing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God. He is not restricted to sannyas ashram. He didn't actually enter sannyas ashram. He favored sannyas ashram. That's what he did. He is God. He is not obliged to be sannyasi. Actually, he is much beyond sannyasi. He is God. He revealed to this world that Mahaprabhu is above all the varnashram or this sannyas system and everything. And then this, and what is this? Okay, yeah, and when Nityananda Prabhu went to Bengal, what did he say? He was preaching, Bhaj Gauranga, Laho Gauranga, Kaho Gaurangera Naam Re. Jai Jan Gauranga Bole, Sai To Amar Pran Re. He was saying to everybody that please chant Gauranga, Gauranga, Gauranga. If you chant Gauranga's name, I am sold to you. So actually his only purpose was to reveal Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's glories to others, or was to actually not just reveal, but was to help people come near God. So in fact, Nityananda Prabhu is teaching us what is the role of a spiritual master. What is the role of a devotee as a preacher in this movement? Nityananda Prabhu is actually Adi Guru. He is giving so many teachings, just like I told you previously, he gave one teaching. By all his pastimes, there are so many grave teachings. The first teaching I told you, he is teaching love for divine will. The next teaching he is giving by all these pastimes is that the role of guru, role of a leader, role of a preacher is to actually help other person to appreciate the glories of Supreme Lord. That's a function. That's all. That's all. Our function is not to speak some moral stories. We are not here to teach morality to this world. We are not here to teach, to actually teach some etiquettes to people. That's okay, that we can do. What's our main function? To help people appreciate Lord, and to help people appreciate His mission, and to reveal to people the glories of Lord. That's what Srila Prabhupada did. You see, Prabhupada, I mean to say, even today, people don't know who is Prabhupada. People just know Hare Krishna movement, isn't it? Nobody knows Prabhupada. When you join the movement, then you slowly know who is Prabhupada, and that too even after 3, 4, 5 years. So that's real Guru, that's real spiritual master. You see the point? That's what Nityananda Prabhu is teaching by all these pastimes. In fact, by Nityananda Prabhu's preaching, Mahaprabhu became famous. Nityananda Prabhu didn't become that famous. He kept himself behind the scene. That's the whole point there. Okay, and then Krishna Consciousness Swami says in Adi Leela 6th chapter 48th verse. This is beautiful, another quality of Nityananda Prabhu. Adi Leela 6th chapter 48th verse. It says, Nityanand's avadhut sabate agal, Chaitanyara dasya preme hoila pagal. This verse says, Krishna Consciousness Swami says, Nityananda Prabhu was sabate agal, the supreme leader of all devotees. So agal means topmost. This Krishna Consciousness Swami says, no, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the main trunk is Mahaprabhu, and then there are 2 sub-main trunks, Advaitacharya and Nityananda Prabhu. And then there are so many branches. So Nityananda Prabhu was one of the main leader of the devotees, topmost devotee. And how do we know that? We know this because of few reasons. Krishna Consciousness Swami is not just flattering Nityananda Prabhu. There are few reasons behind that. Why? Because Mahaprabhu once asked Nityananda Prabhu to actually give him the coffin, the underwear of Nityananda Prabhu. He asked, okay, can you please lend me your underwear? Nityananda Prabhu says, okay, whatever. He gave him. And then he tore that underwear, that coffin in Sanskrit, into many pieces, and he gave to devotees, and he said to them, tie it on your head. So, and then you will get mercy. So the point is, as Nityananda Prabhu was revealing the glories of Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu was revealing the glories of Nityananda Prabhu. You see, it was Nityananda Prabhu who revealed who is Mahaprabhu, is God. It was Mahaprabhu who revealed Nityananda Prabhu is the topmost devotee. He is the leader of all devotees. He is a Adi Guru. By telling them, tie a scorpion on your heads. And this is very important, so I'll tell you why. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't start his preaching mission until Nityananda Prabhu arrived in Mayapur. He didn't start. He was waiting for Nityananda Prabhu. He started his Sankirtan movement. He was doing Kirtans in Srivas Thakur's house. It was closed program. That program was not open to public. After Nityananda Prabhu came, then they started doing public performance, public Kirtans. And preaching, in fact, the first preaching party was of Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur. Oh, Hare Krishna. So he told Haridas Thakur and Nityananda Prabhu, you go and preach. That was the first preaching party. So that shows that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself revealed how important is Nityananda Prabhu. Without him preaching, actually, Prabhu, somebody has to mute. I don't know what's happening. Somebody is open. So yeah, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed that how important is Nityananda Prabhu. Without him, even preaching mission can't start. Now, and the next line says, Chaitanya 𝗪𝗲𝗪 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗲𝗪.
Prabhu, if you could unmute yourself, because I have muted everybody.
Okay. Yeah, fine. I did that. So that's the whole point. And then Chaitanya Krishna Swami says in this verse, Chaitanya 𝗪𝗲𝗪 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗲𝗪. Why he is a topmost devotee? Because he is mad in the love of Lord Chaitanya. Now, it's very important to understand what do we mean by mad here. Mad doesn't literally means mad. Here, mad means it's a very deep concept. Why Krishna's Kaviraj Swami is saying Nityananda Prabhu is a topmost devotee. Mahaprabhu is interested to actually reveal that he's a topmost devotee. Why? Because he's mad. Well, you might think, okay, he's mad in love of God, but that's not a superficial level which Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami wants to reveal to us. It's a very deep meaning here. What's the meaning of mad here? The meaning of mad here is, you can understand by this example. When Nityananda Prabhu came to Bengal for preaching, Mahaprabhu said, you go in Bengal and preaching. I just told you, I can't go there because of restrictions. Now, what you do is, now he went there, and you know what he did? You know what he did? Immediately, he married first. He was a celibate whole life. He was very famous in Bengal for being a celibate. Everybody knew. But he went and married. You can imagine, after so many years of being celibate, if somebody marries, then it's called fall down. He fell down, isn't it? But he married. Not just one wife, two wives. He married two wives. You can imagine how many people might be criticizing him. People were criticizing him left and right. They were saying, see, he fell down. See this, Nityananda Prabhu. He was trying to be so great. When with Mahaprabhu, he was nice, and Mahaprabhu's mercy, he was okay. When Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he fell down. And then not only that, he bought a palace, big palace. And he was staying in that with his two wives. Big palace in 𝗪𝗲𝗪. In Bengal, if you go, there's a place 𝗪𝗲𝗪. Still there is a place 𝗪𝗲𝗪, and there's a big palace he bought. And not only that, he used to chew pan, and he used to have a crown. It is still there in 𝗪𝗲𝗪. A crown with jewel hair on the head. And then I told you, he has to have diamond fingers on all 10. Even on thumb he used to have diamond ring. You can imagine, if you see such a person, my God, what is this? He's a psychopath. I mean to say, at one time he was celibate and he has nothing to do with money, and now he has two wives, not one, two wives, big palace, and he's gorgeously dressed. And that's what he was doing. And the amount of criticism he met, you can imagine. And in fact, even today, if you see records, if you see Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Thakur clearly says, there are people who are criticizing Nityananda Prabhu at that time. There were people who were criticizing Nityananda Prabhu. There were people who were actually trying to kill him. That was the scenario. There are records there. They were saying he actually spoiling spirituality by his conduct. And there were two factions. One faction was following 𝗙𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗃, who was actually criticizing Nityananda Prabhu. See, Nityan is deviated, we don't have to do anything with Nityananda Prabhu. One faction was followers of Nityananda Prabhu, who was saying nitai, Nityananda is good, Mahaprabhu is nonsense. He doesn't know what to do. He took sannyas, and Nityananda Prabhu, he's a real preacher. So it was a chaotic condition. If you read history, you will know what was happening. But the point I am trying to bring here is, this was his madness. He was mad in love of God. Mad in love of God doesn't mean that you are roaming around in streets and you don't know what's happening in the world, and you're just like, what do we say? Like a drunkard, or maybe roaming in streets of Vrindavan. Radhe Radhe bol, Vrindavan mein dol. That's not kind of madness which Nityananda Prabhu is showing. He is showing, I am mad in love of God. In other sense, I can do anything for God. I can do any activity which might seem madness in the eyes of people. That's what he's showing. That's why Mahaprabhu is, Krishna Consciousness Swami is saying, Chaitanya dasya prema hoila pagal. Here madness means Nityananda Prabhu can do any activity, go to any extent which might seem madness in the eyes of people. And his actions were looking mad. As I explained. You're saying he's mad. He's lusty. He's married 2 wives. He's greedy, so much money. So, but he said, no problem. For the service of God, I will do this. I will become mad in the eyes of people. That is devotion. That's what this is the third teaching which Nityananda Prabhu is giving. Third contribution to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. We should be able to go to any extent and not care for what people are saying to serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's the principle he's showing. 𝗦𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗃 𝗪𝗏 𝗪𝗪𝗃. What is favorable to devotion? Just accept it. Don't think about people. I mean to say, you see, new devotees when they come to Krishna consciousness, they are even shy of putting tilak in the public. Am I right? I don't know about UK. Still people might be shy, but I don't know. Or maybe shy in wearing dhoti in Western world. Yeah, wearing dhoti in the public, come on. But that's what Nityananda Prabhu is doing. It is unimaginable for us. You might think it's easy, but it's not easy what he did. In that 500 years back. I mean to say, he lost all his reputation. All his reputation is lost. And in fact, he was facing criticism. No problem. If it served Mahaprabhu's mission, well, so why he was doing that? Because his target audience was rich people. Rich people will not be attracted to beggars. So he was showing, I am more rich than you, come on, surrender. And they surrendered, okay. His target were dacoits. So instead of going and searching dacoits were coming to him to steal diamonds. So he used to preach them, convert to devotees. That was his strategy. And his target were psychopaths. So psychopaths used to think he's another psychopath like us. So he's our friend. So you see, for preaching strategy, he is showing, to serve the mission of Lord, be ready to take any criticisms. Don't worry, don't shy. That is a principle of 𝗦𝗪𝗪𝗃 𝗪𝗏. What is favorable to devotion, accept it. Even if in that you have to lose your reputation. That's the third teaching, very important teaching. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he has commented at length on this point in his teachings. You see, such importance is there, Nityananda. So very grave teachings we are getting from Nityananda Prabhu and his pastimes. Okay. And then Krishna Consciousness Swami says in so this is Anta Leela, 16th chapter, 14th verse. 3:16:14. 3:16:14. Where is that? 3:16:14. Yeah, 3:16:14. Yeah, he's Krishna Consciousness Swami is saying, Anta Leela, 16th chapter, 14th verse. Yadyapi Prabhura agya gaudete rahite Nityananda Prabhu ke prem bhakti prakashite. So, क्या कह रहे हैं? 14th chapter, 16th chapter, 14th verse. Oh, this is actually Madhya Leela. This is not, but it's written. Okay, yeah. So this is not Ante Leela. Sorry for that. It is Madhya Leela, 16th chapter, 14th verse. Madhya Leela. So he's saying, यद्यपि प्रभुर आज्ञा गौड़ते रहिते नित्यानंद प्रभु के प्रेम भक्ति प्रकाशिते. And then he says, तथापि चलिला महाप्रभु देखिते नित्यानंदेर प्रेम चेष्टा के पारे भूजिते. So the idea is, in this pastime, when Mahaprabhu went to Puri, he asked Nityananda Prabhu, he told Nityananda Prabhu, you go to Bengal and then don't come here. I mean, stay there and preach. If you keep on coming here, then whole preaching is get destroyed. But Krishna Consciousness Swami says, although Mahaprabhu ordered him to stay in Bengal, Gaudete Rahite, Tathapi Chalila Mahaprabhu Dekhite, still he came back. He came back from Bengal to meet Mahaprabhu, and he didn't follow the order of Mahaprabhu. You see? Now what's happening? He's not following the order of Mahaprabhu. Well, he's giving a very important teaching. And the teaching is, he's showing that one can break the orders of God to serve him. Following the orders of God, that is very important. That is a religious concern. But breaking the orders for the service of Lord and not for our own sense gratification, that is even beyond religion, that is love. That, you see, such an important teaching which Nityananda Prabhu is showing. In fact, 15. So in fact, this is the verse in actually Ante Leela, Ante Leela. So 10 chapter 8th verse. Ante Leela 10 chapter 8th verse. Krishna Swami himself says, Agya palane Krishner jeche paritosh, prem agya bhangele hoy koti sukh posh. Nityananda Prabhu is also giving another, Nityananda Prabhu teaching. Krishna Swami is explaining in his own words. Just as God, Krishna becomes so happy when you follow his orders, Krishna also becomes happy when you break his orders to serve him. He becomes more happy when you break his orders to serve him. That's actually beyond our realm. That is beyond us. We can't do all these things, breaking orders of God to serve him. But he can do that. But the idea, what is he's trying to convey is, idea is not God. Our target is not God. Our target is not Krishna. Our target is not even orders of Krishna. Our target is service of Krishna. Service of Krishna is much, much higher than Krishna himself or his orders. That will give Krishna maximum satisfaction, maximum happiness. That's a teaching which Nityananda Prabhu is giving. So nice and important teachings. Without Nityananda Prabhu, how do we learn all these things? And then here, and this is very important actually. Was this? So Ante Leela 7 chapter 20th verse. This is Ante Leela. I guess this is Ante Leela. Ante Leela 7 chapter 20th verse. Nityananda avdhut sakshata Ishwar bhavon mad mat Krishna premera sagar. The idea here is, you see the whole idea what Nityananda Prabhu is saying. To be God, Krishna is God. To be God, that is a very high position. He's God, isn't it? Highest position. Supreme Personality of God, it's supreme. But to be servant of God is higher than God. That's even higher than God, because Krishna himself says, my devotees are even greater than me. But to be God and become servant of God, that's even higher. That's this verse telling. Nityananda Prabhu is Sakshat Ishwar, he's God, but he's acting in capacity of a servant. That's even higher. He's God himself. But he wants to be a servant. Why? To actually glorify the position of Krishna. The idea is he is showing, if I am God and if I am serving him, who are you? You have to serve him. And if I am God and I am serving him, then you can imagine how much greater God he will be. So that is why he is showing by his actions. That's why Krishna Consciousness Swami is saying. Nityananda Prabhu is showing that is a point. That is why Nityananda Prabhu, he was actually promoting Mahaprabhu. Instead of promoting Krishna, he was promoting Mahaprabhu. Because he was showing that, you see, if you know me, if you know my reality, and if you know I am God, then you have to understand and accept Mahaprabhu is even greater God than me. He is the God. I am a God. That's the whole point. There's a difference there. And that is very important. That's why Nityananda Prabhu's all actions are just service. Just to glorify Lord. All actions. His seriousness, his madness, his joking. In fact, by joking I understand. This verse, this is a very important verse. Who is Nityananda Prabhu? 𝗪𝗪𝗲, 12 chapter 33 verse. 𝗪𝗪𝗲 12:33. Very important verse. Very nice verse. You can remember this. Nityananda Prabhu sab charitra vipreet, krodh hoila lathi mare kare tar hit. What Krishna Consciousness Swami is saying? Nityananda Prabhu's all actions are vipreet. Vipreet means how do we say in English? Reverse? Or maybe, so vipreet. Whatever Nityananda does, it is, so it will be just contrary to social norms and your thinking. It will appear like that. Why? He gives example of Shivanand Sen. Nityananda Prabhu actually became very angry and he kicked Shivanand Sen. For what reason? For a very minor reason. Shivanand Sen was actually organizing the staying of all the devotees and their prasadam when devotees were going from Bengal to Puri to meet Mahaprabhu. Nityananda Prabhu became very angry. He said, why there is a delay in prasadam and staying and hotel rooms are not available? People were sitting outside. Shivanand Sen was saying, yeah, I am trying to organize. Nityananda Prabhu said, do it quickly. And Shivanand, and it was getting late. Nityananda Prabhu kicked him on his chest. You can imagine. And he said, you Shivanand Sen, all your children shall die. He cursed him. Worse, you see, you can imagine. If somebody curses a temple manager for temple manager trying to arrange something and he can't do, and temple president comes, you temple manager, and he kicks him on the chest and he says, all your children should die, I'll curse you. It's bizarre. Nityananda Prabhu did that. But Krishna Swami is saying, why he did that? He did that to give mercy to Shivanand. Shivanand Sen was dancing. He was saying, today I got mercy. Because his lotus feet touched my chest. And Shivanand Sen's wife, she got really freaked out. Say, what, my all children died, Nityananda Prabhu has become mad, I'll complain to Mahaprabhu, he's got nuts. But Shivanand Sen could understand Nityananda Prabhu is giving him mercy. Maar khaye prem de. Jagaya Madhai, they hit that pot. Madhai, he hit the pot on Nityananda Prabhu's head and it was bleeding. And what did Nityananda Prabhu give in return? Love of God. He told Mahaprabhu, give them love of God. They gave me something, I am obliged to give them something. That is Nityananda Prabhu. They gave me a beating, they hit me, I will give him love. Maar khaye prem de. That is this. So what Nityananda Prabhu is teaching us? He is teaching us that even that in any activity you do, in humor, in jest, in madness, in anger, any situation, any mood you are, simply serve Lord Krishna and distribute mercy to people. That's his idea. To show a great personality. It is said in scriptures, who is a great personality? Who is Mahatma? Mahatma is a person, so it is said, so what's that verse? 𝗪 it is said, I am forgetting the verse, but it is said, a great personality is that who speaks philosophy, who speaks religion, who speaks devotional principles, even when he jokes. Even when a great person jokes, his words will be very deep and full of devotional concepts. That is a great person. It's not that his words will just count when he's giving a lecture. The idea is his whole life, his every word, every action, every moment serves Lord Krishna and makes and helps to glorify Lord Krishna. That is what Nityananda Prabhu is teaching. We can try to do that. We can't, it's very difficult to be like that. But if we can become 0.001% like that, our life will be successful. We can get mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. This is all the glories of Nityananda Prabhu. These are all the teachings of Nityananda Prabhu, which Nityananda Prabhu is actually conveying to us. So deep teachings. That is why Nityananda Prabhu is called Adi Guru. He is the original spiritual master of all of us, of Gaudiya Sampradaya. That is Nityananda Prabhu. And that's why you see when I began the lecture, I told you, we know Nityananda Prabhu, but we don't know. I told you. Now you might appreciate my statement. Now we know Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu is not just a mad person roaming around naked and chanting Krishna, Krishna, Gaura, Gaura. It's not that. His every action, every moment is teaching us something and helping us to elevate in Krishna consciousness. That's what is Nityananda Prabhu. Jai Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai. Hare Krishna.